my Alliance family. This is Terry Edwards coming to you live from Kernersville, North Carolina.
That's right.
Well, we like to say smoking hot. Woo!
Woo!
That's right. So welcome everybody to the call this afternoon. Me and Chris, we're so excited to take time to spend with you a couple of minutes this afternoon. Hopefully we can add some value to your life. We know your time is your most valuable asset, or our most valuable asset. And once we're gone, we don't get it back. So we got to make this thing count. And I think that's one of the things too that this coronavirus is doing to a lot of us. It's making us slow down and reevaluate what's important, what matters, and versus what count. And being able to go out and first of all, work during this pandemic is a blessing that we haven't had to close our doors. I hope you saw the video that our media team put out yesterday when the world is on pause, and how we're going out here, we're masking up, we're doing what we got to do to protect families as well as protect retirement assets. So I'm very, very excited about that. And I'm so grateful that Andy and Jane Albright created an opportunity where we can not only survive during this pandemic, but most of our businesses are going through the roof. Sales are up, recruiting is up. We're moving more money than we have ever before. So like I said, I'm hired directly by Jason and Olga Mathis, part of the Riddle organization. So that's who I am. I've been with the Alliance for 5 years. This month make 5 years. Actually, the way that I keep up with it, Chris, is when I first got started, my youngest baby was just being born. And today she's the big Cinco, 5. So that's kind of who I am and what we're doing here. My wife, Tia, is also a very, very vital part of our business here. And Chris, I'll let you kind of introduce yourself and kind of what you do, and then we'll jump into the meat.
Okay, thank you very much, Terry. And I want to say thank you to everybody who's taking time out of their day, because I know it is valuable, and we appreciate you taking time. Again, my name is Chris Norris. I run Burlington Alliance Capital Management. That is BACM for short. My role here is to help you guys increase your annuity production. We're here to help make that an easier part of your business. We try to make it simple. It's not always simple to do that, but we do try to make that a simple part of the process. I'm not here alone. Paula and Kelly are vital to the organization. At this point, it is just myself, Paula and Kelly. We had Van, but he's decided to kind of go independent and do some things on his own. So it's just the 3 of us again. So we're here, we're working hard. Like Terry said, we've actually seen an increase in the volume of our business. We're actually moving more money than we ever have before. That's thanks to you guys and the hard work that you're doing. And a big part of that as well is that, people are looking for help. Terry and I met with a client this morning, and I tell the story that nobody looks for help in an up market. The past 10 years is very deceiving. When the market's going good, people are happy. They're not looking at the people that are managing their money to say, hey, what's going on? Because anybody can throw at the dartboard and pick a good stock. Because the market's going up.
Blind squirrel can get a nut, huh?
That's exactly right.
That's right.
Now is the time that you see what your money managers are doing for you. When you're going through a time like that, like this, when the market's down 35%, you're looking for people that have a plan. You're looking for the ones that are returning your phone calls. You're looking for the people that are being proactive and calling out and reaching out and saying, hey, it's okay. This is what we're doing. These are the ideas that we have. This is what you should be doing. And that's a big difference that we have here at Burlington Alliance Capital Management. Those are the things that we do for your clients that make you look good. So that's one of the big things that we try to focus on when we talk to your clients and when we talk to you. That's a difference maker in the lives of your clients, in your life, that makes it easier for you. So again, we're here to help. I'll talk more about that, but I'm going to turn it back over to Terry, and he can talk about how we partner. And again, it's a partnership. We talk about that a lot, but I'm going to turn it back over to Terry, and he can kind of talk about that, and we'll kind of go back and forth and you guys, I'm sure, are going to have some questions as we go along.
All right, cool. So, yeah, it is actually a true partnership, because before we had Burlington Alliance Capital Management in our corner, what used to happen when we found money in a client's house, what do I mean by found money? Clients could have money just, we had one client with $300,000 in their checking account. Like, who does that? All right. Extra money laying around in your checking account, old 401ks or IRAs or brokerage accounts at Edward Jones or at Merrill Lynch or all these other brokerage houses, Fidelity or whatever the case may be. When we used to find money, okay, and we would leave a book called Growth Without Risk. I don't have one right in front of me, but there's a book that you can order from the bookstore called Growth Without Risk, okay? We will leave that book with them, which is basically an educational tool to help clients understand what an annuity is. But anyway, so the next week, we'll go back to the client's house. They'll be like, yeah, let's do this. This sounds great. I don't know why nobody has never told me this before. And we'll write up the annuity and send it in for processing. It'll get approved with the carrier for suitability. And then they would send the transfer request to the existing company, Fidelity, Edward Jones, whatever the case may be. And that's where we used to run into the problem. Because when those brokers got those request forms, they would actually call the client, scare the bejesus out of them, give them a lot of untruths, and then the client won't move. Because how many people know that a confused mind won't move? Okay, so we would lose some deals just because clients was caught in the middle. There it is right there. Bam. Growth without risk. So Andy created Burlington Alliance Capital Management. Well, Andy and Chris together. And I remember when that, man, oh my gosh, when we was going through the regulatory process, they were making us jump through hoops and go slide up under 1-inch nails and all this craziness. But anyway, they created Burlington Alliance Capital Management. Now, Burlington Alliance Capital Management is a registered investment advisory firm. So Chris can do everything for the clients. The cool part about Burlington Alliance Capital Management is now when we find money, first of all, I get to partner and bring Chris into the conversation, okay? Because this is what I know. Going to make a $100 a month mortgage protection sale or a $100 final expense sale, people can make a decision pretty quickly on that. It's pretty cut and dry. But when you start talking about moving large sums of money, 100,000, 200,000, the client that we had this morning, $1.3 million. It is not a one sit and it's done deal. So we get to partner with Burlington Alliance Capital Management and leverage Chris's, first of all, his wisdom. This is the thing, guys. 100% of somebody's money can't all go into an annuity anyways. We're not saying that being in the market is a bad thing. What we're saying is you need to have a good portfolio balance, okay? And what Chris can do for us is dump a person's investment portfolio into a model and show the clients, this is where you are, this is the risk that you have. If we did a couple of tweaks, and an annuity in 99% of the cases is going to be a part of the solution, which is going to help you write more business, get paid more money. But it brings Chris into the conversation to help the client get a total view of what's going on. And now, instead of just you working with your client one-on-one, now we have a team approach to helping a client manage their money and really empower them, but also to leverage the experience of Burlington Alliance Capital Management with the relationship that we've already built in the home, and it makes the transaction go so much smoother. I think, Chris, I'm thinking that 95% of the cases that you and I sit on together, we close.
Yep.
I can't think of one that we haven't, but it's got to be one somewhere. Yeah, the one out there in Brown Center, we didn't get that one.
Not yet.
Not yet, but we're going to keep in contact. But what I'm saying is Burlington Alliance Capital Management and Chris Norris, they are not against us, period. They believe in annuities. Most brokerage companies, they don't believe in annuities, okay? So when you have, if you're not utilizing Chris Norris and his staff, Burlington Alliance Capital Management, you are not taking advantage of the advantage, because to have that resource in our back pocket is phenomenal. I think that's one of the things that really, honestly, outside of the culture and our spirit, the spirit of the Alliance, I don't know too many insurance companies or IMOs out there that have a relationship like this.
I don't either. And the other thing that I would say too is Terry and I have gone out on cases where we've just sold annuity business. It's not like we're just going out there and I'm going saying, hey, let's put everything into Burlington Alliance Capital Management. That's not always the case. There's lots of times where we're just writing annuity business. I'm going to give you some stats to where I think we can prove the fact that, hey, it makes sense to bring us in on the case, because from our standpoint, like Terry's saying, it makes doing business easier. That's one of the reasons Andy said, hey, this makes a lot of sense, because like Terry said, you guys are doing a great job writing the business. It was getting hung up. The cogs were getting stuck in the process because the brokers were getting involved and they were telling your clients after you wrote the business, hey, don't do this. It doesn't make sense. Well, we have the ability to move those funds without the broker ever getting involved.
Oh yeah, I forgot. That's right. That's the other advantage. Chris can go in like the repo man, like a thief in the night, and hijack.
Hey, don't call me a thief in the night. Let's call it something else. I got that magic vacuum. We can call it, I got
Okay, all right. I'll go with that. I'll go with that. Somebody asks, are there specific areas you guide the client to in the growth without risk, or do you want them to read it completely? Most of the time, I have them to read the 10 unique qualities about this vehicle. And I think it's like page 7 or 8, somewhere around up in there. But I point them there. I know I want them to read that. And then when I go back and pick it up, that's another reason to get in the house. You leave it with them. And another reason to get back into the house is to let them know that you need to come by and pick up the book. But Chris Norris can go in there and the client signs a form, and Chris can go and basically transfer that whole account from an existing broker into Burlington Alliance Capital Management with a stroke of a pen. They don't have to feel guilty and call their old broker and say, I don't want to, I want to make a change. We make it very seamless for them, and it works like a charm.
Yeah, that's a big key in there. When we looked at the stats for the company, I'm gonna kind of give you guys some stats. So the average annuity with the company is about $55,000, and that's gone up the last few years as we've been working with you guys, and you guys have gotten better and focused. The average stat where we started calling and helping agents on the telephone, where we got involved in just talking with you guys on the phone and helping you guys close business, where BAM was involved, is about 92,000. The average annuity that we wrote when we moved business into BAM, and then it moved into the annuity from there, is 116,000. So you see there's 3 distinct numbers, but we write, when it comes into BAM, our average case is about twice the size that if you guys just write it by yourself.
More the reason to use BAM, baby.
So it's a big difference there. The other side of it is when it comes into BAM, you're avoiding the broker, you're avoiding everybody there, and it's a faster deal. I mean, it's going to come into us usually within about 2 business days. We have to set up an account, so it's 2 to 3 business days for us to get the funds. But again, you wrote a case, Terry, last Friday. We've already got the funds in house. The funds are going to go out. So again, it's pretty quick.
Yeah.
So again, it's a faster process. You're not having to deal, like you said, we're a proponent, so we're on your side. We're not blocking cases and say, hey, no, this is not the right thing to do. we're not calling your client and saying, no, you can't do this. Again, we're on your side. So those are big, important things that are going on. So I would tell you that's a key.
Yeah. And I think Chris mentioned something earlier too that I would like to elaborate just a little bit on. Any broker could have made people money in the last 10 years because of the historic run up. But right now in this environment with market volatility, the market's down by 25, 30%, those brokers aren't knocking down the door to call their clients right now. Majority of clients that we serve have under $500,000, which in the brokerage world is small money. So a lot of times clients are not even receiving individualized attention or calls. They're being routed to a call center. Whereas the thing that I love about Burlington Alliance Capital Management and Chris and them is they stay in constant proactive communication with the clients. So they are telling clients, look, we might need to do this because this is what's going on in the market right now. They're not leaving it up to chance anymore. And I think just the clients that I have talked to, they have been relieved. We haven't had a big runoff like most brokerage houses in down markets have because nobody is contacting them. So Chris and his staff does a tremendous job with being proactive, especially in volatile markets.
Yeah, and that's a big difference. When you're talking about service, that's one of the things that you have to be concerned with. When we bring in a client, it's not just our client, it's your client. So we have to make sure that from a partnership standpoint that we stay in contact. You have to be aware that you have to trust us for one thing. We have to trust that you're doing the right things. And, it is a partnership. So again, we're all on the same team, and it's a marathon, not a sprint. If we do the right things for the long haul, there's going to be more money to come to put into annuities down the road. That's the other thing. We wrote some clients. Terry, that's your clients. The first person I ever went out in the field with was Terry. Yeah. We wrote an annuity for this lady. We were going to move money at that point. We were still in the regulation process. So we couldn't do something. We actually just moved the account over to Burlington about a month ago. So again, 3 years later, we're just moving money back over to us. We just wrote another annuity for her.
That's right.
So again, doing the right things. Terry, you've gotten 2 annuities for her. We've done the right things. We're managing funds for her. But again, it's a trust. It's a long-term strategy for that client. And again, it's paid off because again, we followed up. We've done the right things, built trust, and that's what it's all about. And again, it's paying off.
That's right. We got a question out here. Explain the basic difference between a retirement policy and an annuity. Okay. So you want to take that one or you want me to take it, Chris?
Well,
I
think I need some more clarity, but you go ahead, Terry.
Okay. So basically this is the thing. There are several vehicles that you can use to help a client with retirement. An annuity is one of those. What is an annuity? An annuity is nothing more than a savings account at a life insurance company, okay? Now, you can have an IRA, which is a circle. Just think of the IRA as a shell. That shell can be funded with anything, annuities, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, whatever the case may be, okay? The thing about an annuity is this right here. We're more so focused on safety of principal as the primary objective, with growth as a secondary objective. With other retirement vehicles like that we can use, even an IRA, but more so on the equity side. When I mean equities, I'm talking about stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, all that's the stuff that Chris can help grow money. In that realm, there is no such thing as guaranteed bottoms. Like you can lose your principal, okay? But the way that Chris manages the money, he's going to mitigate some of that risk by the type of vehicles that they're going to use, okay? So you got annuities, which is safety or principal. You got stocks, bonds, mutual funds, equities, which is designed for growth long-term. And then we also have IULs, Index Universal Life Contracts, okay, which is a life insurance contract with a cash accumulation account that's linked to the stock market, just like an annuity, so to speak. But there are some health qualifications that have to be in place for an IUL. Generally speaking, 50 years old and younger and healthy, because there is a death benefit. There is some medical underwriting that goes into place. But on the annuities and equity side, there is no quote unquote medical, but there are some fiduciary and suitability requirements that we must take into consideration, okay? So let me know if that makes sense, or Chris, if you wanted to add something to that.
Nope, I think that's a pretty good piece. You know, Gina talks about this a lot of times. You know, when you talk about annuities, you're talking about retirement safety. When you talk about IULs, you're talking about retirement savings. Because again, you're talking about two different age ranges, right? IULs are usually going to be 50 and below. Annuities are going to be folks that have already accumulated, so you're 50 and above or 55 and above. So those are really the two different time frames.
And if you're brand new, just getting started, okay, your job, our primary job is to do a really good job, first of all, building rapport in the home, okay? Number two, taking care of what the initial request was. If it was final expense, if it was mortgage protection, take care of that. Thirdly, fill out the green sheet in every home, okay? Your job is not to close the deal. Your job is to find the opportunity. Once you find the opportunity, then you come back to the camp, come back home, get with your growing upline. Also, Gina Hawks is one of our IUL specialists. And then with Chris Norris and his staff for equities. And then we come together with a team approach to figure out what's best, what's the next thing to do for this client. So again, don't put pressure on yourself to know all of this stuff. The other thing is this right here. It is not Chris's responsibility to close the entire deal for you. It's not like you fill out this green sheet and send it in to Chris and his staff and you're hands off and you're just going to wait for a paycheck. No, you have to be involved throughout the process, okay? So on that second appointment, after you book it in Chris's calendar, you need to either be there face-to-face, on Zoom, or on the phone with Chris as he's talking to your clients. And by just being present and listening, you're going to learn so much. This business is about doing, and we learn along the way. I think Robert Kiyosaki said in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, you can earn and learn at the same dadgum time. And that's what we kind of do here. So don't put a lot of pressure on yourself. If you're brand new, trying to do all this by yourself. I've been here for 5 years and I still call Chris in. I still call Gina in because I think it adds credibility to me.
So Terry, will you do me a favor? Because if we've got brand new people, let's make sure they understand on the green sheet, you know, walk through the green sheet, talk about the transition. Because again, you know, you're not going to talk, if you're in a house, you're not going to talk about equities. You're not going to talk about annuities. All you're going to do is fill out the green sheet. And when you go through that section that talks about, hey, I know you told me you had, you know, 401k, or you had an IRA, or you had this amount in your savings, you know, if you don't mind me asking, and I'm going to let Terry kind of take it from this and talk about the transition, because you're not going to talk about an annuity. Hey, you need to buy an annuity. That's not what we want you to do. What we want you to do is get good at setting up another appointment.
That's right.
Booking a meeting from a meeting. I'm going to let Terry talk about transitioning. And that's what he's talking about, whether you're going to transition to setting up an appointment for an IUL or setting up an appointment for an annuity. And he's going to talk about how to transition and what he does.
That's
so
right.
I'll be quiet and let him talk about it because he's better at it than I am.
All right. So on the green sheet, it's called Your Financial Picture. We call it the green sheet because we used to print them on green paper, but I ain't got no green paper. So we still call them the green sheet, but it's Your Financial Picture. You could go to naauniversity.com under advanced resources and print out as many as you want. Okay. But in my opinion, when you go through this financial sheet. Most agents that go into a house, they're just trying to make a quick sale and get the heck out of there. When you take time to go over this green sheet, you separate yourself from the competition, because you're not just looking for the crumbs that's right there on the table. You're trying to look at a client's financial situation from a more holistic point of view. So you want to fill out the first part of just name, address, and everything, and then the income. But then the next page is life insurance, you know, and I always ask clients, okay, so what type of plans do you have outside of work? Most people don't have anything outside of work. If you just ask somebody how much in life insurance they have, they're going to include what they have at work. But I'm already planting a seed that what you got at work, that's good, but you don't own that, okay? And then you get down here to your mortgage amount, all that good stuff. But over here on the financial profile page where it talks about stocks, bonds, mutual funds, 401ks, this is where you really find the big money right over here. So a lot of people say, well, Terry, I get objections like people don't want to give me that information. I would say evidently you haven't built up enough trust at that point if people are bugging you. Now, the other thing is this right here. If you tell a person why you need the information before you ask for it, you're more than likely going to get it. So what I tell people is this right here. Now, I know you was interested in covering, making sure that, you know, your kids are not left holding the bag when you pass away. Notice I say it when, not if, because nobody's getting out of here alive. Okay. But I'll say this right here, or the mortgage. I'll say, but, and it's right here on the thing. What other assets right now do you have that can help offset the funeral or offset this mortgage, such as savings and CDs at the bank? What about mutual funds, stocks, 401ks, IRAs, and annuities? And I'm looking down as I'm just getting the information. I'm acting like it's not a big deal, because it's not. You're trying to make sure that you don't put more coverage on them than they need, okay? So that's what I say there. Now, I go ahead and finish my application, the whole ATM and everything, okay? Now, this is the thing. If somebody tell you they got $1.2 million in a 401k plan, most, I ain't gonna say rookies, but a rookie mistake or a dangerous mistake is to go and, we just need to be talking about annuities. No. Act like you done been there before. Act like you see millions of dollars every day, okay? Go ahead and finish the sale. Now, if they got $1 million, they don't need a $5,000 burial plan, okay? So, a cremation plan. So this is the transition here. Well, Mr. and Ms. Client, just based on my humble opinion, it don't look like you really need this coverage. But you know that $1.2 million that you mentioned that you had in your 401k, and this is right out the ATM, how much of that money can you afford to lose? Some of that money, none of that money, or all of that money? Can you afford to lose all of it, some of it, or none of it? And most clients are going to say, I don't want to lose none. And then I'll follow up with this right here. Now, did you know that there's a way that you can protect and insure these dollars and guarantee that you never go backwards? But when the market is doing well, you can make good money. And they'll be like, nuh-uh. And I'll be like, well, look, this is a little above my pay grade. Now, keep in mind, I've sold millions of dollars in annuities, but I still say this is above my pay grade. What I want to do is introduce you to my partner, Chris Norris. He manages our whole wealth management division. And what Chris can do for you is just put a second set of eyes on your plan to make sure that you're going to reach your financial goals that you have set for yourself. Does that make sense? And they'll be like, yep. And what I do is right then, I'll go to Chris's simplybook.me link, book the appointment into his calendar, and then go back to the client's house and let Chris work his magic. So that's kind of the way that I transition.
So there was a question that came in, and it was dealing with how do we know from a dollar amount whether or not it's an annuity or an IUL. And it's not necessarily a dollar amount that's going to determine either one of those answers. I'm going to give you kind of a generic answer, and then we'll talk more. So I elicited earlier that, you know, it's really time frame that kind of determines it, and it's age. So if they're younger, if they're under 50 and they have 15 years is kind of my general rule of thumb. You know, from an IUL standpoint, that might be the conversation. If they're actively saving and they're healthy, you know, I'm going to probably talk IUL. I think Terry's shaking his head because I think that's kind of the conversation piece. So they're saving, you know, $200 a month, $150 a month, and they're actively saving and they're healthy and they're young, less than 45 or less than 50. I'm probably going to have an IUL conversation because they're already doing that. They already have that mindset that they're putting money aside. You know, that's an IUL conversation. If they have a lump sum of assets, my general rule of thumb is $30,000, and that's kind of my rule. It's not necessarily, it doesn't have to be that number, but 30,000 is a good rule of thumb because some of the carriers say you got to have 20,000 on top of what you're going to invest to have an annuity. But if they got $30,000 and they're 55, I'm probably not going to talk about an IUL. I'm probably looking at annuity. You know, but if they got $30,000 and they're 35, I might talk an IUL. So it just depends. That's why I said there's no hard and fast rule from that standpoint.
And it also depends on where the money is now. Yeah. There are two types of funds. You have qualified funds and non-qualified funds. Qualified funds are pre-tax dollars, like in a 401k or a traditional IRA or something like that. Non-qualified money is like Roth money, or just money that they're saving in a regular retail type brokerage account. Now, the thing is, you cannot mix qualified and non-qualified. You can't commingle the two, okay? But so if the money is in a 401k or IRA or old 401k, you can roll that money and it has to go into another qualified plan, which would be an annuity. Whereas non-qualified money, you know, you got more flexibility on what you can do with it and where you can dump that money.
Yeah, and a lot of that comes when you're asking questions in the green sheet. You know, when you ask that question in the green sheet, do you have, where's your 401k? Is that from a previous employer or a current employer? You know, that's going to determine, am I going to have an IUL conversation or am I going to have an annuity conversation? That's going to kind of dictate that. So a lot of that depends, like Terry said, where the money's at. So,
and the other thing too, if you're brand new too, once you find the money and you call from the house, we're going to give you guidance on what the next steps should be.
So repeat that. Make sure they know that as a new agent, they should be doing what? There's two things that new agents should do, right?
It's four fundamentals of these are four things that got to happen while you're in a home. Number one, you have to pick up a phone or pick up a check. Most of the time, you got to pick up the phone so you can pick up a check. What do I mean by pick up the phone? Your growing up line will give you about 5 people to use as product specialists. So that way, after you go through the ATM and before you give a quote, you can call one of those people and get help in the home. Number 2, you have to fill out a green sheet in every home. Not just if you think annuity money is in there, because this green sheet has their medical information, which we will need to help determine what life insurance product is good for them. Number 3, you have to get referrals. Get referrals in the home. And number 4, you got to recruit across the table, okay? Looking around at pictures and things of that nature. Do they know anybody who's looking for some additional income? So those are the 4 basics, but you have to call from the house and we will help you determine what you need to do now and possibly follow up with different products or set calendars and things of that nature.
So there was another question, and I think I typed it back in. I'll put up the booking website here in just a few minutes and contact information. They should be making contact. Okay, IUL instead of a 401k from the point of opening IUL. All right, I'm going to address that. Okay, So the question was, do you give guidance on whether or not we should contribute to a 401k versus an IUL? All right. So couple of parameters that I will kind of give you guys. So first parameter is if they invest into a 401k, whether or not the 401k is matching. That's the first parameter. So I will always tell you if they do a match in the 401k, they should contribute up to the match, right? So if they put in 6 and they give them 6, you should be doing the match, right? Because that's free money. And some people argue with me about that. Well, that money's at risk and they can lose it. Well, I had this argument with an agent one day. They didn't realize this, so I'm gonna tell you. In the 401k platform, there's always going to be a stable value fund. You can always put money into a stable value or a money market fund. So you can put it somewhere that it's safe to where you can put that free money and not lose it. So no matter how good I am, no matter how good the IUL performs, you can put it over there and they're going to get 100% of their money back because the company gives it to them and they're going to give it to them for free. So you're going to have to do that. And I would tell you, you need to make them do that.
Now, and I don't know too many clients who's going to feel comfortable with you telling them not to do at least a match.
Correct. And from a fiduciary standpoint, I really think
there go the F word.
You said it earlier, so I figure I could use it. I could use it too. And I think you're putting yourself out there to really have some trouble down the road if you tell somebody not to do that. And they go back and start running numbers and say, well, I gave up X amount of dollars from a free standpoint. I wouldn't do that. I think, if you've ever seen me present, I talk about, 3 legs on a financial stool. You need that. You can't put all your eggs in one basket. So again, I'm never going to tell a client to not contribute to a 401k. Am I going to tell them to put more than the match? Probably not. I'm going to talk about this on the product call Thursday. I want to give you a little taste of it today.
I'll give them a little teaser.
I'm going to give you a little teaser. We just spent $2 trillion on a stimulus bill. And they're talking about spending, I don't know I haven't seen the numbers, but there's 2 more bills in Congress right now they just passed one. I haven't seen the dollar amount, but they're talking about passing 2 more stimulus bills. If you don't think our taxes are going to go up, you're sadly mistaken.
Well,
so you need to be thinking about ways to grow tax-free dollars. So the IUL is the way to be going. There's no doubt. So that being said, if you've got a client that's putting 10% in and they get a 6% match, that other 4% needs to go somewhere tax-free. So whether it's an IUL, Roth IRA, whatever it is, it needs to be somewhere tax-free. So I would say, yes, do the match. Anything above that needs to go somewhere tax-free. So hopefully that answers your question from that standpoint. If they're not doing a match, then you have to do some other calculations of what the tax deduction does for them, things like that. So
and I think too, Chris, is I think it's very smart for you to be careful what you say you quote unquote recommend.
Mm-hmm.
Because your liability, I want to be so bland that they can't. I wouldn't have said that.
Let them choose.
Let them choose. You put the options out there. This is what you're doing. This is an option. This is an option. Which one? And you go through the numbers and the pros and cons of each, and then you lay it out there and let them pick.
And make good notes.
Right.
Yep. Make a file, keep good notes, but let them choose. At the end of the day, you can't go wrong if they made the choice.
Right. And even with a replacement of a life insurance policy, I never tell a client you should cancel this policy and do this one. I'll lay it out there and I'm like, let's get you approved on this one. And once this was approved, you make the decision on which one you want to keep.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And again, like I said, take good notes because again, we're in I'm going to use another big word. We're in a very litigious society, right? People want to sue everybody. Yeah, litigious, but people want to sue everybody, so just be careful, but yeah, let them make the choice. So
Okay, for y'all that's like me that don't know what litigious means,
that means they want to sue everybody.
unreasonably prone to go to law to settle disputes.
Correct. That's what that means. And Donna, yes, I believe this is being recorded. So hopefully it's not our connection that's going out. She said her connection is going out, but I believe it is. I see it's being recorded, so you should better go back and watch it. So, but yeah, at the end of the day, fill out the green sheet. There are plenty of people to help. That's what we're here for. Reach out. You're not out there on the island. That's what I love about this company. Andy's put in the resources that you can always pick up the phone and you're always going to find somebody that can help you. I've been in the business since Terry always says this when we're with clients, and I'm sure he likes to say it, and he says it anytime I'm with him in front of people. I've been in the business since 1996, so that is longer than Terry's been out of high school.
I graduated in 1996.
Yeah, so I've been in the business that long. So, and I love what I do, and I like being here because I get to help agents and I get to help clients, which is two passions that I love doing. I love helping agents and training agents in the field every day, and I love working with clients, which is what I do all day long. So this is the best of both worlds from my standpoint. One of the things that I would tell you guys to get really, really good at, that I think Terry's really, really good at, is you need to also use evidence to support what you're trying to show your clients. Terry likes using visuals. I like using visuals. We use two different things. Terry loves graphs. I show graphs. I like numbers, but I show both because you never know how people respond. From an annuity standpoint, Terry likes using the American equity graph. I have it pulled up. Terry, do you want to kind of walk through how you use that with clients from an annuity standpoint? I'll show it. If you saw the product call, I think it was last Thursday with Balic. Did they do it last Thursday?
Yeah.
On the IULs?
Yes.
He uses the illustration. He has his own very well. If you guys didn't, go back and watch that because they use the illustration software very well, and they use a presentation. He and Justin and Sydney, very, very good how they use the presentation. Very strong. I would suggest you guys use that. I'm going to share my screen, Terry, and you can use this, and he'll walk you through how you use this from an annuity standpoint.
Yeah, again, so I'm a pretty simple guy, and I like to sell concepts and not the details. What I mean by that, I like to stay high level and not get clients in the weeds, because the more you get in the weeds, the more you go down a road that they don't understand. And what we said at the beginning of the call, a confused mind does not move, okay? So I basically tell clients that there are three things that can happen with your money, with your money. One, it could go up. Two, it could go down. Or three, it can remain flat. Now, if you could take away one of those three options, which option would it be? Most clients are going to say the one going down, right? So I say that's the purpose for an annuity. An annuity is designed so that you're guaranteed never to lose anything, but when the market is doing well, you can make a good return. And then I'll pull out this just as an illustration purpose. So this red line is the S&P 500. Now, when I say that we can take away the downside and you only get to participate in the upside, it almost sounds too good to be true, don't it? And most of them be like, yeah, but this is what makes it not too good to be true. So the red line is the S&P 500, and the green line is how an index annuity would work, an indexing strategy. So as you can see here in 98 and 99, the market was doing really well. On that green line, that's the annuity. So you don't get all of the upsides, okay, but you're still growing. But check this out. In 2001 and 2, as that red line started to decrease, the market started to lose value. What happened to your green line? It remained the same. Your gains were locked in. And guess what happened in 2003? When the market started going up, you started gaining again. Now let's look at our next major disaster, which was 2008, okay? You see where the market dropped off in 2007, 8? Guess what? Your annuity stayed, your gains were locked in. Sometimes it's not about what you gain, it's about what you don't lose, Okay. Now let me ask you a question, Mr. and Mrs. Client. Would you want your money in the red line or the green line? And they'll say the green line. I'll be like, all right, who you want to make beneficiary? Let's get this thing started.
Pretty easy, right? Most people can do that. And again, it's a visual. Most people understand that. And, you know, pretty simple. You can pull that off American Equity, but if you want them, we can send that out to you guys as well. So email us and we can send that. But that's a pretty easy presentation. And the other one, if you've ever seen Gina present as well, she does the up and the sideways and the flat line, the up, down, and other one as well. So pretty good little easy presentation for annuities as well. So
I don't see any more questions out there.
That's what I was looking for. Other questions, concerns. I know, Terry, we talked last time about, you know, just, you know, what was going on, you know, in the industry, but we talked about, you know, the green sheets, you know, follow through. You talked about making sure when you set up an appointment, you know, making sure that the agent was there, right, you know, making sure they were listening. You know, that was one of the big things is, you know, making sure that you're involved and that you stay involved, you know, with the appointment. You know, that's a big deal. I mean, you're always involved with the client. You're always involved with the appointment, you know, picking up things, listening. That was one thing that I would tell from an agent standpoint, that you guys stay involved. You're going to pick up little things just by listening to the phone call. Doing Zoom calls. I would encourage you guys to do a Zoom call, not just a phone call. It makes a big difference. When you set an appointment with us, if you do it as a Zoom call, your client believes that we're real when they see us.
Oh, yeah. And not just doing the Zoom where all three of us are on the Zoom, but you still be in the house with Chris Norris on Zoom is way effective.
Very much so. You know, it's nice Terry's here, so a lot of times I can go out with him. But even if I can't, he'll do a Zoom when he's in the house and I'm here. If I can't go with him, but that is very effective because, you know, people, for one, they want to believe that I'm real. They don't want to think that I'm the Prince of Nigeria as the email that goes out. Then, you know, you just won the lottery and they want me to come out and, you know, just sign the dotted line and inherit $5 million. But again, there's lots of different things for that. So we got a question from Raymond. Annuities are always about obtaining a fixed income on the tail end rather than having free access to your money. So Raymond, that's not always true. I want to make sure I understand your question. That used to be true where annuities were about income at the end, but in today's world, there are deferred annuities where you actually don't ever have to take an income. You can defer the income as long as you want to. So you actually don't ever have to take income out of them. You can defer that as long as you want to. They are actually just designed as a growth product. So we have growth products out there that are never designed to generate income. So you actually don't ever have to take income out of the product. And from a growth generation standpoint, they're generating, you know, 5 to 8%. I mean, they're good, solid generation from an accumulation standpoint without ever having to turn on income. And you can get out of the product if you want to and walk away. So you don't necessarily have to turn it on for income. They were originally designed as income instruments, but that's not the way of the world today. So you're not locked in from that standpoint. So they still exist, but that's not what you don't have to. So hopefully that answers that. So not to get too deep in that standpoint. Other questions you guys might have, things, again, annuities. If you notice some of the things that we've done in the conversation, in the first conversations that we have with clients, as Terry was talking about, filling out the green sheets, and from that standpoint, if you notice, we don't talk annuity, we don't talk IUL, we don't use that jargon with clients. I always use this exercise when I'm in the front of the room. Hopefully it'll work this way with you guys on Zoom. If you took your smartphone out and you Googled annuities, you're going to see it, the third or fourth one down. It's going to tell you, beware, don't buy an annuity. Your clients do the same thing as soon as you walk out of the house. If you use the word annuity, when you're sitting with a client, they're going to Google that and it's going to tell them not to buy an annuity. So I'm not usually going to talk annuities. What I'm going to talk is, okay, you guys are looking to generate good interest. You're looking to generate income. You're looking to provide safety. I'm going to talk about the benefits. I'm not going to talk about annuities in general. It's kind of like Fight Club, right? First rule of Fight Club is don't talk about Fight Club. You know, annuities are the same way. It's, you know, we're not going to talk about annuities because they have a negative connotation. What I'm going to talk about is what are the benefits. They provide safety, guaranteed income, you know, lifetime income you can't outlive. You know, the guarantees, all the things that they can do, the benefits of them. You know, once they decide that that's what they want, then it's going to say, oh, well, that just happens to be an annuity that can do all those things. You know, once they sell themselves on the things that they want, well, then it's easy. We're going to talk that that's the annuity that can do that. But on the front end, just like Terry said, your whole job when you go in the house is you're going to give them the final expense, the mortgage protection, whatever they ask for, and then you're going to fill out the green sheet, and then you're going to book a meeting to come back and talk to them. But we're not going to talk annuities at that point. We're just booking a meeting to come back and say, hey, I think there's some other things we can help you with, but that's really above my pay grade. I'm going to introduce you to Terry because I really think he can help you. He's my partner. That's all the conversation is. Keep it simple.
Yeah, Ishmael says, when I'm in a home and I find money, do I call my upline first or set the appointment with Chris? This is all before I start the final expense presentation. What I would say is you do your final expense presentation because you're not going to find out they got annuity money until you at least start filling out the green sheet. Okay. Mm-hmm. But you go ahead and do what you got to do. But if you find that money, go ahead and get it on Chris's calendar right then and call, I would say, your growing upline. Your first upline may not know as much as you, like, call the person in your growing upline who can help you.
Make the sale.
Yeah. So you make the final expense sale.
Sell the final expense.
Right.
Come back because again, you can't go through the ATM without filling out the green sheet, right?
Right.
Right. So you fill out the green sheet, you know they got the money. Once you fill out the ATM, then you're going to make the final expense. You're going to come back and say, hey, you told me you had all this. By the way, what I'd like to do is find a time to come back and talk to you about that. It's above my pay grade. I'm going to bring Chris. At that point, that's when I'm going to set the appointment. But I've already sold the final expense at that point. So make the sale. You're there to make the sale. Right. So sell the final expense, then set the appointment.
So one question is, why do annuities get a bad rap?
Because you got, well, if you looked at it, because you got guys out there like Fisher Investments and all those guys that tell you not to buy annuities, and it's really the old annuities that are out there, variable annuities and things like that, that used to be, well, they still are, but they have high expenses and high fees, and people were they were not very ethical. They were just being sold, and people were paying 4% and 5% to be in those, and that's not what we sell. That's not what we do. But you still got these people out there that were doing those, and people they're just buyer beware. So the industry's changed, but unfortunately, we're still taking the brunt of it. So that's why they have all those out there saying that you shouldn't buy annuities. So for the right people, they fit. They're just not for everybody.
Right. And then the next question is, so Burlington Alliance Capital Management figures out the company to move the money with, not the agent.
Correct. We work on that together. So we'll help you make recommendations on what recommendation to move the money. That's correct. Yeah.
And really what you want to, and just like when you're first getting started out on the life insurance side, very few products that you need to know. You need to have one good guaranteed annuity with just a regular fixed annuity, and a very good growth annuity, mm-hmm. and a good income annuity.
Yeah.
So learn one good growth annuity, one good fixed annuity that has a guaranteed interest rate, and then one good income annuity. That's what I would recommend.
And we'll help you with that. And as we have those conversations with clients, we'll have the conversation with agents as well and why we made those recommendations and walk you through those as well. The nice thing is, when you guys do business with us, we don't take a cut, of the compensation unless you guys want us to, and we'll talk about that. From an admin standpoint, if you guys want us to do the paperwork on the annuity, we'll do that. If you guys are new agents and you don't have an admin and you can't do all that, we'll do all the paperwork for you guys. We charge 10% of the case to do all the paperwork, all the back end stuff. But we're not.
That's 10% of the comp. That's 10% of the comp, not 10% of the annuity. 10% of the comp.
10% of the compensation, correct. But that means we do everything. So that means we do all the paperwork, all the follow-up, everything. And we're only doing that really to try to help you guys get paid faster, because we know as you guys start out, you guys don't have an administration person that can do all that for you. So again, if you look at the hourly rates, if you're paying somebody $10 an hour, it works out. It's cheaper to use us. And again, we incorporated that because we got 2 staff. I can't do it for free. So we try to just make our staff hourly rate for it. Yeah. So again, at the end of the day, it's worth it, but that's a choice you guys can make.
Yeah. And I think this will be the last question. So annuities aren't e-apps?
No, they are. You can do an annuity as an e-app. Yep. Yeah, but they're still, at the end of the day, from an e-app standpoint, you still have to do all the follow through, and you still have to do, even though it's an e-app, they can still have, there's still much to do with those too.
Yeah, so I got a pending requirement right now, e-app, and they want a wet signature on the transfer form.
Yeah, well, every company requires a wet signature. Unfortunately, even with the e-app, they will not accept the e-app for the transfer forms. So that's just the way that they are. So there's certain things that still have to be done with a wet signature. So, even with technology, you can't get by some things. So like I said, we'll help you as much as we can. Like I said, we're trying to make it easy. Again, our fee is not to make money. Our fee is to try to make it easier on you guys. And again, once you go through it a couple of times, you pretty much know the process. I think Terry will tell you it's worth it from that standpoint. Again, we're not selling you on it. We're trying to make it easier for you. You don't have to do it. Again, at the end of the day, it's just trying to make it easier for you guys. And like I said, we're right about time. Or if we'll wait another minute to see if any other questions come in.
Hey, Chris, I got to jump off though.
You're good. I'll stay on here for another minute if any other questions.
Okay, buddy.
I think we're good though. So
all right,
we'll let everybody roll. It's 4 o'clock. I know. Let me see if there's any other, maybe one more. Nope. I think we're good, guys. We appreciate it. Any other questions? I'm going to real quick pop up because I promised to do it. I'm going to pop up our information so that you guys can see our link. That'll be the last thing I share, and then everybody can go. There is our link for our information. It's got our Simply Book Me site and our office number. And if you just text to the bottom here, bam, that'll give you our contact information. And we appreciate you joining us. I'll leave that up for a minute or two. And then we do appreciate everybody going and reaching out to us.